In business, there are only three activities: process, projects, and decision making. That's it. While most programs and coaching focus on the first two, I want to help you make better decisions. My name is David Siegel, and I suck at internet marketing. I'm sure I'm about to make every mistake in the book. But I'm conducting a search, looking for a few people willing to radically change their way of thinking to make better decisions. My goal is to give you a toolkit for making the big decisions for both your business and personal life. I call this toolkit personal agility. You may not use it often, but it'll probably have a bigger impact than anything else you can learn. Once you hear my story, you may want to contact me. I'm 62. I've lived almost every day of my life on my own terms. I've never really worked for anyone else. I never know what I'm going to do each day when I wake up in the morning. And I always have enough money in the bank to not worry. It's been that way since I was 27. I got a master's degree in computer science from Stanford, where the U.S. government paid me to go to school for 4 years. Then in 1986, I was the 41st... Oh, hi, Pickle. This is my assistant, Pickle. I was the 41st employee at Pixar when the company first started. I got to work with the original team and Steve Jobs, and I loved it, but after a year, I left to work for myself. At age 28, I spent 2 months designing a typeface that Adobe turned into one of the best-selling fonts of all time. I designed a few more fonts, and I licensed them, and you probably see at least one of them every day. In fact, if you have a Macintosh, you have one of my fonts on your computer. In 1993, I started building a website when there were only a few hundred websites. I'm one of the first 2 or 3 bloggers ever, depending on how you define blogging. I wrote the first book on web design, which was #1 on Amazon for an entire year, longer than any other book has held that position. I started a company, worked hard, wrote 3 more books, and traveled the world giving speeches about the internet and the future. In 1999, I sold my company to KPMG. After that, I racked up 1 million frequent flyer miles giving talks and exploring the world with my backpack. In 2000, I did 1 day of consulting for a company in Belgium. They flew me there and paid me $30,000 for 8 hours of consulting, plus lunch. I went to Harvard Business School and took their executive course on board membership. I couldn't see it at the time, but it was absolute bullshit. I've been to 99 countries. I've lived in San Francisco, Seattle, Denver, Jerusalem, Zermatt, New York, Paris, London, Zurich, and now Washington, D.C. I got into skydiving and inline racing. I wrote a book on the future of data. I became a safari guide in Africa. I taught some photography courses. I went to TED in India. I've invested in hedge funds and venture funds and a dozen startups. I can't say I made perfect decisions. I made a lot of mistakes, but my lifestyle remained about the same. In 2015, I started learning about blockchain and cryptocurrencies. I learned quickly and started writing about it, explaining technical concepts in simple terms. At this time, I was a candidate to be the dean of Stanford Business School. I didn't get the job, but in 2017, I created a project based on the ideas in my book and raised $21 million in a blockchain fundraiser called an ICO. I moved to London and hired about 50 people to create the Pillar wallet. It's in the App Store now. I still woke up every morning and figured out what I wanted to do that day without much planning. I once spent an entire day calculating how many people the Apple Watch would kill in a year, and it turns out to be about 1 for every 5 million Apple Watches sold. Now I'm helping people understand the metaverse, and I'm raising money for my nonprofit. Not everything has worked out. I made some bad investments. I got divorced. I watched a partner take over and destroy one of my businesses. I once made a $100 million mistake. I've made several multi-million-dollar mistakes. Failure teaches you more than success does. To become more agile, I studied decision science and statistics. I learned from Danny Kahneman about thinking fast and slow, and how we all have huge blind spots and biases that prevent us from seeing the world as it really is. For example, a type 1 decision error is deciding to do something and that fails. This happens to many of us. But a type 2 decision error is not doing something that turned out very well. Those decisions cost us far more than the type 1 errors we make. For example, I met Jeff Bezos in 1995, and if I had played my cards right, he probably would have bought my company. Later, Microsoft offered to buy my company, but I didn't take those offers. I valued my independence. I tell my kids I could have been a really rich guy, but then they wouldn't have been born, and I wouldn't trade them for any amount of money. Too often, we sweat the details of buying a new laptop or a guitar or maybe a hand tool, and we simply slide into huge decisions like whom to marry, which job to take, which house to buy, whom to trust, how to invest our savings. About 3/4 of marriages end badly. Most corporate acquisitions don't add any shareholder value. Most people buy when markets are high and sell when markets are down. Critical thinking is far more difficult than accepting all the labels and categories people use to create their own reality. For example, most extremely wealthy people have been extremely lucky, but they don't think so. The truth is almost never black and white. It's almost never on one line. It's usually very multidimensional. What's the truth about vaccines, masks, elections, discrimination, abortion, climate change, nutrition, education, parenting, investing, business, or how to best live your life? In complex adaptive systems, things are always changing. What worked 3 months ago may not work now, yet we are easily convinced by anecdotes, analogies, and stories of success. Now I want to talk about you. I want to help you see the world as it really is and make better decisions when the time comes. People like Tony Robbins and other famous coaches all cherry-pick their best stories and tell people that if they do what other successful people have done, they will have similar success. I wouldn't learn decision-making from any of those successful marketers. You may be stuck. You may be doing really well. You may have hit a plateau. You may be going through a divorce or deciding whether to move, buy a new home, buy a new car, leave your job, make an investment, or start a new business. That's where my system will help you most. I'll make you more quantitative, more data-driven, less emotional, more precise, and more willing to admit when you're wrong. We'll develop a system that works for you. I don't have a formula, and it won't be easy. You'll have to give up some ideas you're attached to. You'll build new skills. Together, we'll install a new operating system that is closer to reality than what you've been using. And I hope that system will change your life when it's time to make an important decision. It starts with an 8-week course, 2 hours the first session, then 1 hour a week, and then 2 hours in the final session, or something like that. 10 hours of consultation total. You'll need to do homework and read books like those I've listed on this site. You'll pay me $2,500 in advance for the 8-week course. We'll start with an initial session. From there, I'll give you assignments geared to your situation and capabilities. And over the course of the 8 weeks, you'll work on these things and get a feel for working with me. After you've used your 10 hours, I want you to tell me what it was worth. If you don't think it was worth $2,500, I'll refund you as much as you ask for, including a full refund. So I'm the one taking the risk, but you have to show how interested you are by putting up a deposit first. If you want more coaching after that, we'll discuss how to go forward. My goal is to be there for you when you have a big decision to make, but in the background as you continue to improve yourself or your business. This is an experiment. I'm going to show you the raw data without cherry picking. I'm going to put on this site exactly how much I've paid for online ads, how many people have visited this page, how many have asked me to work with them, how many I've accepted, and how many have asked for and received their money back. I can assure you, if you want all your money back, you'll get it. I won't put people's names here, but I'll show my full track record so everyone can see how it plays out. It might not work. I'm willing to take that chance. The one thing I can guarantee is that if you complete the full 10 hours and you ask for your money back, you'll get it. I'm just looking for a few people. You have to be in the 5% who will lean into your mistakes and want to learn more about them. You have to be willing to change your mind when you learn you're wrong. If you're willing to do that, if you're not committed to a religion or a political party, I want to hear from you. If you want to be more in control and go bigger, put more into your life and get more out, I want to hear from you. I won't give you the answers. I'll ask you questions. You'll do the work. I'll be your coach. So explore this website. There are a lot of resources here. When you're ready to apply, click the application button, fill out the form, and you'll hear back from me within a day or two. If I think I can help, I'll send a contract, and we'll schedule our first meeting as soon as you send your payment via PayPal or Venmo. If you don't want to try it now, that's fine. You can always come back later and see how others have done. As Richard Feynman said, first, you must not fool yourself, and you are the easiest person to fool. I look forward to hearing from you.